Oh, I don't know. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to do this. Right. Inhale. Take a deep breath. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge, and this is your latest Manchester United transfer news as new bids go in for Amrabat and, more importantly, Onana. This is it's hotting up with Onana, but also the talks with David De Gea and Dean Henderson are very confusing as well. Lots to get into. Welcome to this wonderful morning where we're owned by Qatar. Qatar now own Manchester United, of course. Rio and everyone got it right yesterday. Big news yesterday. We're now owned by Qatar. I'm lying, by the way. Thick people will think that's true. I'm taking the piss. I'm being sarcastic. But I was just laughing before I went live there because I got sent something. I mean, what did I say last night about, thick people do need entertaining and sometimes they come into our world? It's why the One Show exists. It's probably why some people support shit teams. There's actually a tweet I've been sent this morning where somebody... I just don't get it. I don't get why these people expose themselves to ridicule. There is a tweet going around this morning that Manchester United staff have been invited to do leaving message videos for the Glazers, and the limit to do that is Friday. Read into that what you will. I will read into it what I will. You're a bloody super prat. I can't believe anyone would put that tweet out. I can't believe how stupid you would be to do that. This is not the local bakery stall and Betty's retiring. Let's all get a card and write a message in it. This is Manchester United. As if the catering staff are going to do a video saying, Joel and Avram and I can't remember the other four, just want to say you've done a great job. Yeah, I've loved having shit money and working in a health hazard stadium that could fall down at some point in the next 10 years if you stay in charge. I mean, this is the world we have to operate in, where people are so stupid around the sale that they start believing anything. My postman's just knocked on the door. He winked, and I think that means one wink tomorrow. Or it could be today, wink Wednesday. I said wink. I mean, this is the level of stupidity that we've got around our fan base at the moment, around this sale. Goodbye videos, next few hours. I'm feeling Atari. It's just like I feel like it feels like Jaws. Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water, another one appears. Oh man. Anyway, let's get back into reality. Why are we live a little bit early today? Because Mason Mount's going to get announced at some point. I thought it might be 8 o'clock. I thought it might be 9 o'clock. And I thought, you know what? It'll be bloody 10 o'clock. So what's the point in waiting to do a show we're ready to do? And then Mason Mount gets announced and we have to go and do that. So I thought, let's just go through the news and we'll see when Mason Mount gets announced. Just finished a 24-hour shift at the hospital. I don't know if I'm more tired from that or this transfer window has niche up. That's the best one yet. I mean, I almost think that we're going to have a daily thing now until United gets sold about the most stupid rumour. Now, that's going to incite people to come up with stupid rumours, but at least we can laugh about it. United staff have been asked to film goodbye messages for the Glazers. I mean, for one, every member of Man United staff I know would, rather publish a dick pic or a fanny pic or a pair of tits pic or something like that. They'd rather send that. They're not going to go, oh, we love... I mean, the best thing about that is the Glazers have barely visited Old Trafford. The staff don't even know them. It's just crazy. Absolutely crazy. I think it was not mean like you think, Mark. The joke, who written it, was meant as a joke. Well, look, whether it's a joke or not, I've just been sent a tweet about it. And whether that's a joke or not, I think we all know from the quality of rumours that have gone out over the last 6 months, it's probably the sort of rumour that would be true. Anyway, let's get in. Right, I want to talk about this latest story that's coming out in relation to the goalkeeping situation because it's all over the place. I think we can start to establish what's going on with Onana. There is a new bid that's going to go in, and it's going to be 45 million euros plus 5. This is coming in from Di Marzio last night. He's saying it's a verbal bid. So it'll be a verbal bid for Di Marzio, not an official bid. And then Italian reports are saying that the official bid might be about to go in. I think this is what's going on with Onana. I don't think we've had any official bids for him. I think verbal conversations are going on. and they're being leaked out as bids. So look, this would explain why Fabrizio has not mentioned any official bids for Onana, because we haven't made any official bids. So we're approaching the 50 million. Well, look, Inter wants 60 million euros. We're approaching the 50 million euros with 45 plus 5, which, to be honest, I think is what Onana's probably worth. He's still around his mid-20s. He's one of the best goalkeepers in the world. I think 44 million, or what would effectively be 40 million with add-ons, I think that would be a really good deal for Manchester United. So look, hopefully we're moving towards that deal actually being done. But there is a kicker back on that. Here we go. Here we go from Fabrizio. I understand Manchester United have presented this morning. Oh my God! Don't ever tell me I haven't got sources. Might be in trouble for this. Little bit ahead of what Fabrizio's tweeted. I understand this is Fabrizio's words, so you're going to get a bit of an echo here. These are Fabrizio's words, not the ones I just said 3 minutes ago, although they are very similar. I understand Manchester United have presented this morning their verbal proposal for André Onana. 39 million total package, add-ons included. The bid will be official soon. Inter expects 60 million euros for Onana, add-ons included. No agreement at this stage. Onana keen to move. So literally, that is probably one of the weirdest updates we've ever done, because I literally just said that a couple of minutes before Fabrizio said it. But people will say we haven't got any sources. So what I was saying is, obviously the official bid has not gone in. That's why Fabrizio's not tweeted it. He's now tweeted the verbal. The verbal, and Poison Dwarf says props to Dimarzio. Yeah, 100%, 100%. You're absolutely right. So it is going to be 45 million euros plus add-ons, which is about 39 million pounds. So that's what has been proposed verbally. People saying 39 million is a joke, but 39 million pounds is 45 million euros. So it's not a joke. But I think what United are doing here is they're getting to a point with Inter where the fee is agreed and then the official bid goes in, and we do that quite a lot. So this is really encouraging. This is really encouraging around Onana, because I don't dismiss Dimarzio. He has got good Italian sources, and there's a lot of Italian sources talking about Onana, and we're definitely interested in Onana. But for me, there's been an absence of UK credible sources, and Fabrizio has not really committed until there. So I think that, and that's what I'd heard before I went live anyway, and that's what Fabrizio has now put out, that there is a 39 million pound bid, 45 million euros. Add-ons will be on top of that, and there is encouragement from Onana and Inter that deal can get done. So look, it's looking very, very positive on Onana. And I almost want to take a deep breath on this, because there was actually a story from the Manchester Evening News, I think it was late last night, saying that Dean Henderson still wants to be number one, and there'll be talks with him about what his future is. There's going to be talks with David De Gea about what his future's going to be. And look, I'm a massive De Gea fan, but he's got to go now. You cannot do what United have done over the last 2 weeks and then keep De Gea or Henderson. You just can't do that. Like, this is a fan base, this is a community, and I'm talking about the wider fan base, and you can't dangle Onana and say, we're going to get this really innovative goalkeeper that's going to change the way that we play. Actually, we're not. We're going to stick with Henderson or De Gea. They just can't do that. So they needed to do what they're going to do with Onana, and it's looking encouraging that will now happen. And I think that we'll probably never know the truth about what happened, but United ultimately are going to end up with what Ten Hag wants, and that's right. And I think what needs to happen then is Dean Henderson goes, you take 20 million for him, and then David De Gea goes, and hopefully finds somewhere that he's happy with. And then United move forward with Onana. We will need another goalkeeper. I mean, I don't know what we'd do with that. But as I said before, I don't want to, at the expense of repeating myself, you can't have a reserve goalkeeper on 150 grand a week. And apparently the offer to De Gea is 175. So you can't have we can't spend £175,000 on keeping De Gea as the backup to Onana. We just can't do that. As much as I love De Gea, we're not a bloody charity, and financial fair play is a thing. And £175,000 a week comes out at what? 350. It's about 700 grand a month. 700 grand a month. It's you're touching £10 million a year. I mean, I don't want to talk about business, but why would you pay a reserve goalkeeper nearly £10 million a year? It's just ridiculous. You can't do that. So I don't know what these talks with De Gea are. The Manchester Evening News were saying that they won't move forward on Onana until they've had talks with De Gea. So maybe they've had the talks with De Gea. Maybe they're lining up the deal with Inter in case. But they need to move a lot quicker, because if they don't, then everything is going to move. But I think that the reason I'm early, Matthias, is because we're just waiting for this official announcement from Mason Mount, which, knowing our luck, would probably be 10 o'clock. So at least we've done our morning show before then. But if not, we'll just carry on and do a bit of a longer show. I don't want Robert Sanchez, Royden. We spoke about that last night. I don't want Bijlow, and I don't want Henderson to stay. And if I'm being honest now, I don't want De Gea to stay either. Some people don't understand that, but it's called embracing change. Lots of people in life don't embrace change. I used to be like that, and it's a really dangerous way to play, because we all come from change. You know, something changed one night or one morning where your parents thought, let's go for it, and then 9 months later you pop out. So change is good, and we need to embrace change, because change is how we progress. And I don't have all the answers. Erik ten Hag is the manager. He's paid to have the answers. And to be honest with you, I don't mind if he makes decisions that I don't agree with, because that's what he's paid to do. If Erik ten Hag makes every decision I think and you think, what's the point? We need, and this is what Sir Alex did. Sir Alex would do things where we'd go, wow, and it would work. So we need to embrace the change. Some people don't like the idea of Mason Mount, but that's what Ten Hag wants to do. Maybe he'll keep Scott McTominay. That's what Ten Hag wants to do. We can argue it, we can debate it, but ultimately we've got to hope that Ten Hag gets it right. And I didn't want De Gea to go, and I spoke about that openly in the last few months of the season. But I'm not naive, and I'm not silly, and I'm not stubborn, and I could see what was coming. And as soon as I knew it was true, I'm like, well, I'm not banging my head against the brick wall here. I'm not going to start a campaign against that Ten Hag and Onana and stuff like that when I really like Ten Hag and I really like Onana. I think it's a shame the way it ended with De Gea, but it's ruthless. I just hope that we're that ruthless with the people who deserve it. If we're going to be ruthless with De Gea like that, I really hope we're going to be ruthless with certain other players, because they actually deserve the ruthlessness. But I think with this Onana, especially the update from Romano, I mean, the intention was to talk about the Italian Di Marzio report of a €45 million bid with add-ons, and thankfully Fabrizio has come out and confirmed what I was talking about before, that this is not an official bid. It's finding a verbal conversation with Inter and then going in and getting it done. So look, it's looking positive on Onana. It's never done till it's done. There is still certain elements of United's goalkeeping situation that is confusing. As I said, the Manchester Evening News basically left all options on the table, and Manchester Evening News have just come out again and said that Onana is Manchester United's prime goalkeeping target if De Gea is gone for good. So, what does that mean? It basically means that he is the prime target, and we're definitely working on it. Any move... Well, I mean, this is interesting, because this is what they were saying yesterday in the Manchester Evening News. Any move for Onana is dependent on David De Gea's situation. De Gea's United contract expired last week, but the club still want to hold face-to-face discussions about a possible renewal. Sources say there was a shift in United's position on De Gea towards the end of the season when he committed errors in the games against West Ham and Man City. And Dean Henderson remains intent on leaving United. And well, this is good, because this is from Samuel Luckhurst, and he runs up the Dean Henderson fan club. So he's saying Dean Henderson remains intent on leaving United and has been perplexed by suggestions he could stay when he is one of the club's most sellable assets. Well, that's good news then, isn't it? Because I think we all agree that we'd love to see Dean Henderson leave for many reasons, none more so than the fact that we can get some money for him. So I think that's interestingly good. So look, really want to get your thoughts on this. I work at United and believe there are no messages. Keep up the good work, Mark, says Robert Field. Thank you very much. Of course there's no messages. I think that it's... it's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting because you got Fabrizio. I can't believe that. I mean, I don't like to big myself up, but when I big myself up and bigging up the community, I was literally saying about the verbal offer and then the official bid will go in and it'll be about 40 million. And then Fabrizio tweets it just as we were talking about it, which is great. To know that you're getting good information for you is great. But it's an odd one because what I will say is, and you know what, Ben Jacobs says this all the time when we have him on. He said, unless you say Qatar are going to buy the club and Qatar are favourites, you'll get called a fraud because it's what everybody wants. They want Qatar. But actually, responsible reporting is to tell the truth. And Sir Jim Radcliffe still thinks he's in the race. And, you know, Ben gets a lot of stick for that, but actually has been proved right every single time. You know, when we heard that it was going to happen a few weeks ago, he said, my information is that there is no exclusivity. There will not be any exclusivity. And there's no story that there's going to be an announcement this week. And 3 weeks later, there hasn't been an announcement. So sometimes, you know, reporting isn't about being popular. It's about being right. And I don't want to be the bearer of bad news here. But if I said to you, well, De Gea could still stay and Onana might not come, everyone's going to go mad because everyone wants an Onana. But, you know, I analyse situations, I'm sure you do as well. It's still very, very clear that, yes, we're moving ahead on Onana, but yes, we want to have talks with De Gea. And the big issue with that is that there is absolutely no way we should have Onana and De Gea here next season. You're going to be paying probably over £500,000 a week on two goalkeepers when you only need one. So it looks like we're very much moving ahead on Onana, but it looks like we're still going to have talks with De Gea. My little bit of concern is if we have talks with De Gea and he signs the contract, whatever happens after that is a nightmare because you've either got De Gea as the reserve on 175k a week, or you drop your interest in Onana. So we still need a bit of clarity. We're definitely moving forward on Onana, but we need to sort this stuff out with De Gea. Mark, who do you think will be the reserve with Hendo not being an option, says Akil? I think we'll probably buy one. I think that's the most logical thing. Happy Mount Day, says Kirk. But yeah, I think we'll probably have to buy one because, look, I'll be completely honest here. There's absolutely no point in keeping De Gea on that amount of money as a reserve team keeper. It just wouldn't make any sense at all. But, you know, United have made stupid decisions in the past. But, you know, a few people in the chat are saying, when do you think this deal gets done now? Well, look, you listen to what Fabrizio's saying there and you think, well, you could get a here we go by the end of the week. On the other hand, you listen to what some of the UK journalists are saying, and Man United want to talk to David De Gea. Well, is David De Gea on honeymoon at the moment? Because if he's on honeymoon at the moment, the timing of what United have done is ridiculous. But we need to have that conversation sooner rather than later. As many people in the chat are saying, the transfer window is open and we need to get moving in the transfer window. Moving the story on a little bit, you'll have seen Amrabat in the chat. I mentioned this on Monday about personal terms being reported in Italy. You know, the usual haters started going on about Goldbridge makes stuff up for clicks. I don't make stuff up for clicks because I always tell you where the story comes from. The Italian sources probably make it up for clicks, but that's where the story came from over the weekend. Man United have agreed personal terms for Amrabat. It was a story that was out there in Italian sources. The interesting thing with that is that obviously Man United have not completed personal terms for Amrabat, and we had Fabrizio on the show on Monday afternoon. But since that story's come out, we're getting more and more UK press acknowledging United's interest in Amrabat. And Simon Jones in the Mail late last night has said this: Manchester United have rekindled their interest in Sofiane Amrabat. He was a target for United in January, but Fiorentina would not let him go. United wanted him on loan, but they wouldn't do it. They are now ready to sell the midfielder for around £30 million. Amrabat is earmarked as a replacement for Fred, who has been attracting interest from Fulham and Saudi Arabia, while Scott McTominay could also depart. And that's all coming in from the Mail. I'm really, really, really intrigued by this. I've got to say, because I think that it's really interesting. It's really interesting because if Amrabat's the replacement for Fred and we've got Mason Mount, I'd be quite happy with that, regardless of what we do with McTominay. Ultimately, Mason Mount's not replacing anybody because we're keeping Eriksen and Bruno. And then if Fred goes and Amrabat comes in, I don't care what we do with Scott McTominay, because ultimately Amrabat would be my replacement for McTominay anyway. So look, if Fred goes and Amrabat comes in, I'm very, very happy with that. And I'd still sell Scott McTominay, but I'd be more relaxed about what we do with him, because I don't think he gets anywhere near that team when you've got Mason Mount and Amrabat anyway. So maybe he needs to go knocking on the door. Missing the days when we had Van der Hau as our second goalkeeper, reliable and a true professional, says Davis Diano. Hi Mark, the share price is back over $25 this morning. The markets must be excited over the Onana news or Mount signing, says Glenny Boy. And I've got a really happy feeling today. Good news incoming, says Angie. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. In relation to the sale, it could happen any time now. In the next 6 months, I don't know. I'm not really going to get into that. Mark says, get McTominay out first. It makes no sense to keep the worst midfielder in United over Fred. Well, the great thing about, and Odyssey says, what about Lavia versus Amrabat? We're not getting Lavia. We're not getting Lavia. There's no point in upsetting yourself. It's like Casido. It's like Declan Rice. They are good players that should be on United's recruitment list, but we're not going to get into those deals because Casido is going to Chelsea, Rice is going to Arsenal, and Lavia is going to go to Liverpool, Arsenal or Chelsea and not United. I mean, our level of midfielder this year is going to have to be somebody like an Amrabat. That's what we're going to have to do. I think that United have, obviously the Glazers have ruined this summer transfer window in many ways, in the fact that we're having to pivot and change our plans. But look, from where we were a week ago, if you said to me our midfield next season will be Casemiro, Amrabat, Eriksen, Mount and Bruno, I'd take those five if McTominay and Fred go. And the good thing about McTominay and Fred is that you should be able to raise about 40 to 50 million pounds for the pair. So yeah, I think that would be interesting. There's a lot of slow sports news in the chat. I know we were live a little bit early, but we've already done the Fabrizio update, so you're a little bit late on that one. James Pearce from the Athletic is saying that Liverpool have pulled out. Well, the interesting thing about if Liverpool have pulled out of the Lavia deal, I'd have to go and check that. Maybe I'll do a video on That's Football later. If they have pulled out of that deal, then we have no chance, because if Liverpool pull out, Liverpool tend to pull out because they know they're going to struggle. And I would imagine if Liverpool are pulling out, that's probably because somebody's going in bigger. And it's probably Arsenal, I would say. We can't get into the Lavia deal. I'd love to do it. Can you do a poll on Lavia versus Amrabat? Well, I will do it, but I'm loath to do it because I know what happens. And then when that player signs for our rival, you've got to own it, because we're not getting Lavia. And I know what I would vote, and it would be for the player that we're not going to get. But there we go. What do you think about Donny van der Beek's future? Says Centric. Well, I think with Donny, I think with Donny, I suppose I'm sort of explaining what I think about Donny. I have no thoughts anymore. I used a lot of energy on Donny, as we all did. And I think it died with Solskjaer, to be honest, Donny's chances. I saw a picture of him driving into training on Monday, and he's just got that sad face. I don't know whether that's his normal face, but when I saw him play for Ajax, he didn't look worried and sad. And his whole time at United, he just looks worried and sad and, like the world's on his shoulders. I think he needs to change. I'll tell you what's interesting, though, on that story from the Mail about Fred attracting interest and McTominay. That is Saudi Arabia for Fred. Now, I've said this for a few weeks. I know Fulham are interested in Fred, but Saudi Arabia is exactly... I think, you know, if you think about all the players that have gone to Saudi Arabia, Fred suits that league absolutely perfectly. I mean, he is exactly the sort of player that that league needs. He's energetic, he's happy, he's charismatic, you know, he's Brazilian, so he's used to, you know, Brazil's a long way from England. Brazilian players are used to, you know, going China or, you know, Russia, or well, he has been, hasn't he? Was he in Ukraine at Shakhtar? So, you know, I think Fred wouldn't have a problem going to play in Saudi Arabia, and at his age, if it's the right money, I think he wouldn't mind doing that. So, I think that I've always said that I think Fred and Saudi Arabia is quite an interesting deal, and the great thing about that is if we can do that deal, we should get a lot more money. So I'd love to see that happen, because we should get more money for it. I mean, I just want to clear 20 million for Fred, but if he's going to Saudi Arabia, I want at least 100 million for Fred. No, you never know though. You could get anything over 20 is a bonus. If we could get 30, I mean, IQ says Saudis might pay 40, but I think Fred's the perfect player. I mean, they would want... Who else would they want? I mean, they probably would want Martial. They probably would want Sancho. They probably would want these types of players. And I think we'd get... I don't think they'd want Maguire. But none of those players would go, would they? I don't think they would. I think Fred would go. Out of our squad at the moment, Eric Bailly would probably go. I think Fred would go. I don't think Donny would go. Bruno would probably go if he was a bit older. But Lucas, welcome to the members club. But there's good money there, and you'd be foolish to ignore good money. On the interestingly on the votes, this is quite interesting, and I'm quite enjoying this. We've put a vote out for you this morning: Amrabat or Lavia, and half of you. Well, it's basically 50-50, but it's slightly more for Amrabat. Which is that because of realism, or is that because he's a hipster choice? I do not know, but there are a lot of people who are liking that one, so that's interesting, isn't it? Very interesting. 54%. Have I just had a message? Open that one. Uh, 54% of you have gone with that. Do you think we're going to get a 10 o'clock on Mason Mount? Well, let's put it this way. I'm ready. We'll just move over onto a Mason Mount announcement, but I don't know. United could have announced this deal on Monday. He did his medical on Monday. Like, it's Wednesday morning now. Hello, it's Wednesday morning. They could have done this on Monday. They should have done it yesterday. I don't know why we didn't do it yesterday, and they're going to do it this morning. Well, there's only 2 hours left of this morning, so I'm sure it's going to happen at some point. You know, maybe it will be 10 o'clock. I don't know. Maybe it'll be 11 o'clock. Maybe it'll be midday. I don't know. I think Arsenal are also preparing to announce Declan Rice as well. It'd be funny if they announced them both at the same time. But United haven't tweeted anything for 4 hours, so I very much suspect that our next tweet will be Mason Mount. But, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, we look, the only good thing... Well, no, the good thing is the player. But the real good thing is that once Man United have officially announced Mason Mount, the pressure comes to start announcing something else. And at the moment, we know that United are not going to do anything else because they still haven't announced Mason Mount. So as soon as that comes out, we're then in a position where we can get excited and say, yeah, what's next? Just to clarify with that, interesting point here. I'll give a shout out to Pip. He said that the Manchester is Red podcast, which is Manchester Evening News, said that a goalkeeper is more important than a striker, and it's best to go another year with a temporary striker and Martial, and that Højlund is too expensive and unproven according to them. Well, maybe Manchester Evening News need to get their passports out and watch football outside of the UK, because I completely disagree on Rasmus Højlund. And I imagine they would have said the same thing about a certain Cristiano Ronaldo in the early noughties when we signed him, that we shouldn't risk spending money on unproven players. Look, we're Manchester United. It's amazing. It's amazing what some people think. Just wondering, is Twan Sebi still in the club, says Joseph. No, I think he's gone. And they're delaying to dye his hair again, says Robert McCormack. I can see the Glazers wasting this week away running on the Mason Mount announcement hype and doing nothing else. Typical bullshit, says Navin. Well, we are a commercial animal. We are a commercial animal at Manchester United. And, if I worked at Man United and I knew there was going to be nothing happening this week, I would drag the Mason Mount deal out. Of course I would. You would do it as well. If I get told at the start of the week, nothing's happening this week, we can't get hold of De Gea until the end of the week, so we can't sign Onana, we've got no money to do anything else, there's not going to be anything about the sale, it's the first week of July, you're going to have to drag the Mason Mount thing out till the middle of the week, then that could well be what we're doing. Let's be real. We're football fans, but we at United, we have to get involved in lots of other things as well. And you do sit there going, why have we not announced Mason Mount yet? When it was here we go last Friday, medical on Monday and Wednesday morning, and we're still waiting for it to be announced. And I think, maybe it's a bad sign. Maybe United are holding off the Mount deal till the middle of the week to get through the week. Because when it's the weekend, people don't expect anything. But going back to the striker situation there, and everybody's got the right to opinion, but everyone's got the right to come back at that. And some people get very sensitive about people coming back at them. But ultimately, it's not personal. We're just talking about opinion here. Do you think we can get by with another goal do you think a goalkeeper is more important than a striker? I think bullshit. I think that this sort of conversation belongs in the Man United boardroom. And I think that if Rashford will get 15 as a centre forward, who's getting 20, says Robert McCormack. I think, but I think that I don't know who on the Manchester Evening News has said that, and some of them are good journalists, but doesn't mean their opinion's good. I mean, is that not Glazer-nomics from a journalist? You're pontificating publicly that if it's a choice between a striker and a goalkeeper, you go for a goalkeeper. Why are you having that conversation? Why are you taking your foot off the neck of the Glazers? Like, you're allowing them to breathe and get up. Like, don't take your foot off. Like, they've strangled this football club. We need a striker and a goalkeeper. The conversation is not whether we go for a striker or a goalkeeper. The question is, if we don't get both, we will be outside the top four. So, next May, when we're back playing in the Europa League, will you sit there and go back to your podcast about the conversation you had saying we're better off without a goalkeeper than a striker? Or will you be sat there saying you've got to look at Ten Hag and, you've got to look at the results this season? I know it and you know it. I won't have a chat about what's better to go for, a striker or a goalkeeper, because we need both and two midfielders. And if we don't, the conversation will not be that come May. It will be pressure on the manager. And we all know that. So, look, we need a striker and a goalkeeper, and it's not excusable if we don't get both. As for Rasmus Højlund's too expensive and unproven, bullshit. Go and watch a bit of Atalanta. Go and watch a bit of Denmark when he plays. Go and look at the talent. I can't be dealing with unproven, because the world is a list of players that were unproven who became proven. David Moyes threw Wayne Rooney in as a 16-year-old against Arsenal, completely unproven. The rest is history. Manchester United have had youth as part of their team for decades and decades. They're unproven. It's who we are. It's what we do. Ronaldo comes over from Sporting Lisbon, unproven, and becomes one of the greatest players that's ever played. I'm not having this unproven bullshit. No. Oh, you can't go for unproven. But, you know, a little story for you. Lionel Messi, Lewandowski, Erling Haaland. They didn't just, you know, drop out their mum's chuff and be good enough to play for Barcelona or Argentina or Norway or Man City. They were thrown in unproven at some point and became the players that they are. Talent is talent. If Erik ten Hag thinks Rasmus Højlund is a fantastic player and he wants him at Man United, get him at Manchester United. I can't understand the unproven thing. I don't understand it. Premier League, he's not proven in the Premier League. He's too young, he's not proven. Garnacho was our best winger in the FA Cup final. He's a teenager. I'm sorry. If there's one thing you have to call out as a Man United fan, it can never be, let's not get them because they're unproven. It's who we are. It's what we do. That's what we are. We promote youth. We buy players and develop them. I just think we've stopped doing it. And as I said before, we moan so much over the last few years about why we always overspend on the finished article. Why can't we get the player before they go there? You know, why can't we get Haaland before he went to Man City, before he went to Dortmund? Why can't we get these players? Why can't we scout them earlier? And then you actually have an opportunity to do that with Rasmus Højlund, and people are like, no, he's too expensive and he's unproven. He's not too expensive. You're talking about probably £40 million with add-ons. That's not too expensive for a goal scorer. That's not too expensive. Juventus want nearly 90 million for Vlahovic. Benfica want nearly 90 million for Ramos. They are decent strikers, but are they any more proven? They're more experienced, but are they any more proven? Are they any less of a risk, especially at double the price? You can say what you want about Henderson, but at least he's wanting to move for good of his career, unlike Maguire. I completely agree, Rory. Jack says, what are your thoughts on the Mason Mount Instagram post? Well, I was going to talk about it on the reaction, really, but I mean, look, Chelsea have only got themselves to blame. Mark, rate a window of Mount, Onana, Amrabat and Højlund. You've got to be going 6.5, 7 there, because where's the centre-back? Where's the second striker? Where's the experienced striker, Dan? So, yeah, I've got to be going 6, 7 there. Yeah, Michael says it's an 8. No. Would you take Lukaku on loan, says Films Reviewed? Since when did Manchester United become Luton? No. Jake says, let's be real, Højlund would be a risk. Well, of course it would, Jake, but everything's a bloody risk. Everything's a risk. You go down the shops because you've got no milk, it's a risk. You know, you've got to go through the car park. And trust me, at my local Sainsbury's, it's full of old folk who drive like they're bloody Lewis Hamilton in a blindfold. So, you know, I think that everything's a risk. Every signing's a risk. Harry Kane at £100 million at 30 is a risk. You know, he's world class, but it's still a risk. You're never going to get rid of risk in football. Every time your favourite player goes on the pitch, it's a risk. You know, lots of things can happen. There's no such thing as a sure thing. And look, United need to get that deal done. Definitely need to get that deal done. And again, it comes down to giving the manager what he wants. Rasmus Højlund is the striker that Erik ten Hag wants. Mason Mount is the midfielder that he wants. Onana is the goalkeeper that he wants. You know, Amrabat may well be the midfielder that he wants now, and the centre-back might be that Monaco lad. Go and get them, because you've messed up his number one choices in most of those situations. I've not heard anything about Dybala, Royden. I've heard nothing about Dybala. You've got to roll the dice, says Paul Lucas. You've got to roll the dice. I think that, look, you know, we live in a world of hipsters. We live in a world of over-analysis, I think, sometimes. You know, I love some of the stuff. You know, we've had Jack on and, you know, you see stuff on TikTok and that. And, you know, I think some of them are good at it, but it's the most easy content in the world to get little clips of players or images of players and go on to FBref or Scout, copy the stats down, write them in a good sentence, and if you're good at presenting, sit there and go, Mason Mount is going to make a massive difference to Manchester United. The way he picks up the ball in between the lines and the way he can, implement the press. He's got a good first touch. He likes it in tight spaces and he can spin, lay it off, and he's got intelligence to come back and take it on the edge of the box. His first time shooting off the right foot is number 3 in the world for that. We all see all that stuff and it's really, really interesting. But I think we overanalyze as well. We're guilty of overanalyzing. Football is so simple. Why do you think Sam Allardyce can still get a job? His coaching style is ridiculously simple, based upon basically motivational skills and percentage football. Win the second balls, be physical, be well organised. You can overanalyze, and Pep Guardiola's the GOAT, but football also has a place for simpletons as well. I've made a career out of it, some might say. But it is a simple game. And I think we do overanalyze. And, ultimately, there's a manager of this football club, and it ain't us. And we've got to stop paying stupid wages for finished articles. Because, there's almost a hint in the word finished article. Finished article to some people means you're buying a player that doesn't need any development and comes straight into your team. So they're the finished article. That's one interpretation. Another interpretation of finished article is they're finished. There's no more improvement. It's only downhill. Mourinho's made a career out of this, buying finished articles. He drops them into their team because they don't need any development, but he's gone within 2 years because the only way for them is down. United need to stop buying the finished article and start buying more players who are on the way up and hungry. And there is a risk to that. Some of them won't be good enough. But if you get it right, and look, Anthony's a player I look at. Martinez is a player that I look at, because Martinez is not the finished article. He's a player on the trajectory up. He's gone from the Eredivisie to the Premier League. Anthony's the same. Casemiro's the finished article. How many years will we get of Casemiro before he starts coming off? Jody Davids is right. Varane is the finished article. Yes, you're right. Even Varane, I love Varane, but he's not what he was at Real Madrid 3 years ago. Casemiro's not what he was at Real Madrid 3 years ago. They're still fantastic, but the only way he's down. You do need some, but United's transfer policy pretty much over the last decade has been buying finished articles. Players that are, have been developed by other clubs that we just want to drop into our team. And we've been terrible at development anyway. We've now got a coach who can do that. We need more players like Bruno Martinez and Casemiro, warriors who bleed for the club and give everything for United, who have also the class needed. There's not enough balance in this Man United side, Acid. There's not enough balance. There's not enough up-and-coming players. Garnacho's been a breath of fresh air. Rashford's not an up-and-coming player anymore. He's a senior pro. He's in his mid-20s. Martial's 27. The players that we pretend to ourselves are still development players. They're not. Scott McTominay's 27 this year. Even if, and he needs to develop massively. In relation to youth, there isn't that many. Most of them are hitting mid-20s, moving towards their 30s now. There is a real need in that squad to bring in younger profile players. And I think Ten Hag's the perfect guy to do it. But, Eriksen was a finished article. Yeah, but, Eriksen, there's nothing wrong with bringing in the Casemiros and the Eriksens, but we definitely need to bring in more Antonys, more Højlunds. Ideally you want to bring more Garnachos, but they've got to be in the squad. They've got to be in the youth development. But look, I'm all over a deal for Rasmus Højlund. And you know what? Onana is still, for me, young. Onana, if he was an outfield player, would be 23. 22, 23. For a goalkeeper at 27, that's still young. So, the balance of the team is right. Onana could be our goalkeeper for the next 10 years. So, that to me is United need to go a little bit younger. They do. They definitely do. Di Maria's gone to Benfica. That's coming in from Romano. Don't worry, that's not the sound of a car tyre going down or a woman's trump. That might be a bit stereotypical, actually. you know, in my experience around women, they don't tend to let a big man fart out. Sexist fart joke. Well, it's not even sexist, is it? Most women I've been around don't like to let a big fart out. It tends to be a hisser or try and be a silent one. I just think let it out. But then again, I have an irritable bowel, and that's my excuse. Some people don't like it. So I just say, look, at the end of the day, it won't smell. You know, I have a good diet, but it might make a noise. Agree with you, Mark. Keepers at 26, only just starting to hit their peak, says Wayne Clark. Yeah, exactly. Oh, Fletch says, you're wrong, Mark. My wife farts like an 80s darts player. I don't know what that means, but I like it. I suspect Ten Hag wants to play Rashford as a 9. Højlund, Rashford, Martial as centre forward. Options, we have lots of wingers anyway. But I've always said that, Amy. I've always said that United, that Rashford as a striker seems to be what Ten Hag wants to do. I'm intrigued by it. I don't agree with it, but I am intrigued by it, yeah. Have you heard that Manuel Neuer is retiring? Don't tell me that, Ben. I could see Onana at Bayern Munich. I actually can see Onana at Bayern Munich. So don't tell me that. Onana's a really good goalkeeper, and I think the reason that we've had a good run at him is because nobody needs a goalkeeper in the Premier League. But you know, if Bayern Munich suddenly need a goalkeeper, that worries me. Yeah, that does worry me. Anyway, look, I'm going to shoot off. We didn't get the 10 o'clock Mason Mount announcement, but I will be back 11 o'clock. Let's reconvene for 11s. It is going to get announced, and we will obviously react to it. There's a few things I want to say around the Mason Mount signing as well. I do want to have a say on his Instagram video. Some people said it wasn't very sincere. Some people said it was scripted. I have my own thoughts on that. Also want to talk around the actual signing and what's been going on. I've read a few things this morning. I think Andy Mitten said a few things. I think we said on Friday that the add-ons have to be, you know, ridiculous for us to pay the add-ons. So yeah, we will reconvene for the Mason Mount reaction video whenever that happens. I'm going to predict 11 o'clock. United have to put this out today, so you know, let's wait for that. So make sure you subscribe so you get your notifications. Smash a like on the video. Great show this morning, and I'll speak to you probably in the next half an hour or so. Speak to you in a bit. Thanks for watching.